So what is this event going on here?
Ask before you film, what's the purpose and who's it going to?
It's going out on the internet.
So
on YouTube.
Okay, so what's the question?
I'm just wondering why is General Atomics here at the Raytheon House Office building?
Because we have a laser program. We design and develop lasers at General Atomics.
What is the purpose of having the this display here, though, at the House Office building?
This is directed energy conference, building awareness of new technologies. They're looking for congressional support, generating interest.
Is there a congressional hearing going on right now concerning directed energy weapons?
No. This is an annual event. This is the 32nd year they've done this event. So it's just an annual event. Every summer they do it.
So is there a conference going on concurrently with this, or is it just this here in the Rayburn House Office?
This here in the Rayburn today, and then they'll be in the Pentagon on Thursday.
Pentagon. Interesting. And so what is that right there?
That's the MQ-9 Reaper.
MQ-9 Reaper.
UAVs.
And what is this device here?
The Avenger. They've got spec sheets and data sheets on all the aircraft that we produce here.
So drones are a pretty controversial topic right now. Yeah. Wouldn't you agree?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, I'd say the policy that employs drones is controversial. The technology itself is not anything too.
Well, right. It's pretty neutral. I mean, it's the policymakers and the people at the Pentagon who decide, or people in the White House who decide what's going on with the drones. Do you agree with the current policy of like the Obama administration?
Yeah,
I
can't comment on that.
No.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of like safety mechanisms that allow for the drones not to fire on say innocent civilians or anything like that?
Absolutely. There's always a man in the loop. It's not a robot. It's controlled by a human operator. They have persistent ISR reconnaissance with high definition video, so the positive ID of a target or a potential threat is very high. You're flying by in a fighter aircraft at 500 knots versus a UAV that's flying at 120 knots. It's quite a difference of ability to look and stare and get a positive ID before you decide to engage. And it's all, the military or whoever's using the UAV has a decision process. They have to vet the target, they have to clear it, they go through the rules of engagement before they decide to prosecute it. So, the technology is tremendous, very precise weapons with very low collateral damage. I think some of the misperceptions are because there is a high confidence that you're going to hit your target with low collateral damage, it may be easier to employ something like that. Another thing that people don't realize is that having an eye in the sky continuously, 24 hours a day, gives the ground commanders a sense of security and awareness of what's happening in the battle space around them. So it actually protects lives of U.S. soldiers on the ground. They can assume risk by having less forces on the ground because they don't need the blocking forces. They're less intrusive when they're in the enemy's territory. Smaller logistics footprint.
Can I ask you? I believe just yesterday there was a photo that appeared on the internet of civilian aircraft near hit or near miss, whichever way you want to look at it, of a drone. I believe it was in Germany. Are you familiar with that? Did you see anything about that?
No.
What kind of safeguards are there for, say, if there's more drones in the skies, then the likelihood of the drones hitting civilian aircraft is probably going to increase.
Yeah, there's integrating in national airspace is a challenge. The FAA, our company, other industry partners are looking at that very closely. So we've done things like TCAS, Traffic Collision Avoidance System. There's ADS-B, which is a cooperative transponder. We have IFF. But the real question is FAA requirements for see and avoid, where there's a pilot on the aircraft that can actually see and avoid a potential collision. Because aircraft with transponders and cooperative equipment can avoid each other with no problem. It's a person that's not flying with an IFF or a transponder that becomes a challenge. So we're developing a radar called Due Regard Radar. Basically, it looks out the front of the aircraft and looks for potential collisions or threats. And then based on that radar, we can take avoidance action, depending on how high the threat level raises for that. There are also optical systems, similar to a pilot using his eyeballs to scan outside. And I would say that because the UAVs never get bored, because they're persistent and they can do repetitive tasks.
Yeah, but the guy in the control room, I mean, those guys do pretty long hauls. I mean,
yeah, they have shifts. They rotate. There's not one guy in the cockpit for 24 hours at a time. But his attention span is just as good, and he's got better situational awareness because of the sensors on the platform. I would argue that a guy flying a Cessna with his iPad or distracted inside the cockpit. So.
But I mean, he can only see what the drone sees, and a pilot can look around within a cockpit, can do a 360 degree turn with his head and see potential threats or potential avoidances.
Sure, he's paying attention. Yeah.
Right.
I've got 25 years as an Air Force pilot, and I'm still a private pilot, and I know that the UAVs that fly and operate integrate safely and. I've been stacked in orbits with UAVs above me and below me by just a couple hundred feet. And
so you were in the Air Force?
Yeah.
So what do you think about these drones putting Air Force pilots out of business?
I don't think it's putting them out of business. I think it's a career transition. It still takes a pilot on the ground to operate them. Yeah.
So would you have preferred, given the opportunity, would you have preferred to have flown a drone sitting in a small trailer in Creech Air Force Base, Nevada, or would you prefer to fly the real thing?
Obviously, the adrenaline and the thrill of flying is very exciting, but I think for the Air Force officer that fly these, they're very professional and they take a lot of pride in what they're doing because the impact these UAVs have had on the fight on terrorism and counterinsurgency has just been tremendous. So they've seen more action than the guys in the cockpit, actually.
In a lot of those cases, though, I mean, there's what's termed collateral damage, where like the drone will hit a group of 15 people, and 10 of those people are children.
Much less than manned aircraft.
Say again?
Much less than manned aircraft.
But that's acceptable, though, is the collateral damage?
The loss of any innocent person is not acceptable. But again, that's not our policy. We're the producer of the tremendous technology that.
But if there wasn't a demand from the government to produce these weapons, then you guys wouldn't be in business.
If there wasn't a demand for any customer, any business, the company wouldn't be in business.
Well, okay, you mentioned the war on terrorism. I mean, isn't that kind of a manufactured concern by the government to increase defense sales?
Not my place to say. No, I don't think so. That's not my place to say.
You don't think so, though? I mean, because we're not really fighting on a real battlefield, and there's no real. We're not fighting against a real army, a real air force, a real navy. Yet we're spending like billions of dollars on
a lot of analogies.
You
look
systems.
At the Empire of Britain and the constabulary battles that they fought. We're not fighting a peer competitor, and thank God we're not. But there are national security threats that have to be addressed. So it's more of a constabulary fight than it is a peer-to-peer theater war. But it's still at some level in government you need to have. The legitimacy to use violence has to reside at some level, and whether it's a militia or a tribe or a regional warlord or a nation state, I think in our country we've decided that the use of force is reserved for police and military and nation states.
So, in the so-called war on terror, essentially the entire globe is a battlefield, including within the borders of the United States. So, does General Atomics, are they behind using drones as weapons on American soil against American citizens?
I think it's kind of ludicrous, but it's not a company position. That's not a company position. I mean, we can't comment.
You think it's ludicrous, as in that would never happen, or?
It's like, would we use nuclear weapons against U.S. citizens on U.S. soil? I mean, that's.
Well, we use. I mean, look at the militarization of police forces right now with like SWAT and stuff like that. I mean, and their police forces have already ordered drones, right? I mean.
Yeah, I'm here representing the company as a company rep, so I just can't comment on that stuff.
Have police forces actually ordered drones from your company?
No, not at all.
None, no police forces.
Not at all.
What about Homeland Security?
The Department of Homeland Security is a customer. They do the maritime patrol for counter-drug interdiction out in the Caribbean, but not any domestic use.
So, are there any federal agencies that are using your product on American soil as surveillance?
Only training for the military, and that's on training, military bases where they do training before they go overseas.